Well, hello. How's it going, law fans? I hope you're having a good day. I'm in a very good mood. And I'm in a good mood and I want to stream. So let's stream. Welcome to Uncivil Law. We're not really here to talk about anything in particular. I just thought we could talk about some stuff and have a little law commentary. It might be fun. A little late night law commentary for anyone who shows up. Law after dark. Law after dark is the best law. I hope you're having a really good day. I'm having a good day. I think we'll just catch up on some stuff, not talk about anything in particular. We'll see what's going on with the Supreme Court right now. So much stuff is going on. It's been a busy kind of law month dealing with all the election seats. Joe's Med, hello Prima Facie, Sal 2K. Storm says, yeah, hello. Ralph says, well, I was about to type, well, hello. I beat you to it. So let's see what happened on Supreme Court stuff. There's a lot of stuff happening, actually. Oh yeah, I saw this news report. It's dealing with antitrust, dealing with the National Collegiate Athletic Association. That'd be pretty interesting. So let's take a brief look at that and see what that's about. This would be an interesting one. This was just granted certiorari, so this doesn't even have a scheduled date yet. This is pretty interesting. Dealing with the issue is whether the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit erroneously held, in conflict with decisions of other circuits, so probably they're wrong, right? And general antitrust principles, that the National Collegiate Athletic Association eligibility rules regarding compensation of student athletes violates antitrust laws. Ooh, that's going to be a really spicy one. All right, so for those of you who are not from the United States or are not as familiar with college sports, for whatever reason. So what you need to know here is that in the United States, colleges, most of the colleges, pretty much all the colleges, are under what's called the National Collegiate Athletic Association, the NCAA. You might have heard of the NCAA tournament, March Madness NCAA, so it's the National Collegiate Athletic Association. So all the big colleges, like many of the medium colleges, are in the NCAA. And they are not permitted, student athletes, so these are students in college, so these are like 18 to 22-year-olds typically, they are not permitted to accept money as compensation. So the colleges can give them free tuition and free housing, and that's about it. And they don't get paid. And I seem to remember this decision from the Ninth Circuit. I think we covered this one from the Ninth Circuit, where the Ninth Circuit actually ruled that they could be paid, or the fact that they weren't paid was an antitrust violation. So the idea being that the National Collegiate Athletic Association is a trust, a cartel, and they have acted in a way to restrain trade by preventing people from compensating NCAA stuff. So this is intercollegiate sports. So that'll be a really, really interesting case. I think we might have covered that case. If not, I need to go back and cover it, because that would be really, really cool. But I think we did cover it, dealing with that. That was a big, big deal. So yeah, we probably will figure out if that's wrong. So basically, the fact that they're not, it's not that they're not paid that's the problem as such. It's the fact that the National Collegiate Association is preventing them from getting paid, or is it a conspiracy to prevent them from getting paid? So the Supreme Court just granted certiorari on that today. So I don't know when they're going to hear that. There's still time to hear it this year. So we might have oral argument on that in March or April. And that'll be really badass. That'll be a big case. We'll definitely have to cover that when it comes down. Hello, Mr. Hellspawn. Are we going to talk about shadow law? We can talk about all the law. Yeah. Hello, 90 knots. YouTubers are worried about the law dealing with the update on DCMA. Yeah, they should be. It's a proposed law, but it's going to be a big pain in the ass. Is that the chick from Connecticut? I don't know. I know keycaps prima facie. How does antitrust litigation work with state schools that are made up members of that? Well, the NCAA itself is a private association. They're not a government entity. So the NCAA is the one that's performing the antitrust violation. The fact that it's state schools or not is kind of irrelevant, because the NCAA is the one that's doing it, and they're a private association. So yeah, not really there. Hi, Senpai. I love you. I love you too, Internet Commentator. Nozaku says, not to change the subject, when you get a chance, to comment on ATF's sudden interest in bearing guns they had no interest in. Yeah, and they want to ban the 80% lowers. The thing that I always think that's sort of humorous with like they're wanting to ban 80% lowers, it's like, okay, so what are we allowed to have, right? Because somewhere between 0 and 100, there's got to be a line somewhere. And the ATF said 80%, which is good as number as any for that. You know, more than 80% is so when is a firearm a firearm, right? So when is a firearm a firearm? So this is very technical. So the firearm, as a matter of law, is the receiver. It's the lower receiver of a firearm. So you can buy everything except the lower receiver in the mail. So you can buy like the barrel in the mail, you can buy the sights in the mail, you can buy, in the case of a rifle, the upper receiver in the mail. You can buy triggers in the mail, trigger pieces in the mail, sometimes grips in the mail. You can buy everything in mail except for the lower receiver, because the lower receiver is technically, legally, the firearm. What is the firearm? The lower receiver. And then it became, okay, how much of a lower receiver do you need? Because if you have 100%, then that would be obviously a lower receiver. And then you could have a 0% lower receiver, which is otherwise known as a big block of metal. That would just be a block of metal because it has nothing in it, right? So it's just it's the uncarved piece of marble from which the statue will be revealed, right? So somewhere between 0%, the block of metal, and 100%, the completed thing that, you know, is finished product, we got to have a line. And so the ATF long ago decided 80% was the number. And the Democrats are apparently super salty with this and want the ATF to like crack down on 80% lower receivers. And my only thing is like, okay, so then what's the next number? You want to go 50%? I mean, like, I don't know. So the whole thing is like weird. And then then the ability of the ATF or anyone else to regulate that, of course, becomes problematic. Because at some point, it's got to be like disconnected enough to be not valid. But yeah, the ATF, once again, the 80%. They were also getting into these 80% lowers that came along with the kits. So they were upset at the 80% lowers that also included like the jigs and stuff that you would use at the machine shop to finish the thing. And they were upset at you being shipped both the 80% lower and the jigs and instructions on how to finish it. That's too much, I guess. I don't know. So yeah, that's a thing that's going on. Yeah, that's a whole thing. I'm multitasking. We're rushing to finish my paper. Well, good luck on finishing that, man. Hi, Paula Harvey. How are you doing? Hello, Erica. Hello, Jekyll. Paul. Hello, Paul. Rosako. JD Hill. Do you pay attention to firearms law a lot? Yes, I do. Firearms law is a subject I am passionate about. And the ATF and the 80% lower thing and the whole things with the kits and stuff is a bit of a pain in the ass. Yeah. SBRs too, yeah, that's true. So you have the short barrel rifles, or the that they want to turn into short barrel rifles, and they want to turn particular kinds of pistols into rifles, and all kinds of stuff they're doing in categorization. It's a pain in the bus, but yeah. Sin Hicks, I'm not a baby lawyer, but can I find out? Okay. Are you sure an 80 AR-15 lower receiver is a firearm? Recent court decision had a judge confused and the ATF backing off. That's been my understanding, unless someone changed their mind somewhere along the way. But the standard was always the lower receiver was the firearm, because the only thing that you can't ship is like the firearm. That's the thing that needs the background check, is the lower receiver. So unless something changed recently, yeah, that was my understanding. Unless something changed. Yeah. Cartel, a loose organization of suppliers that seeks to raise prices. Yeah. Drill the fold hole, open your third eye. That's funny. Yeah, last 2 days, ATF rated 8% producers and short barrel rifle producers. It's going to drop tomorrow. They'll be illegal in a month. I'm sure they will. Yeah. Hello, Frosthammer. Hello, Jemima. Ginger Cowgirl. Hello, Ginger Cowgirl. We always love the gingers, and we always love the cowgirls. I think it's funny that I can't own a gun of a certain type, but I can 100% own a bow, sword, machete. Yeah, and then, of course, you can own a gun that was manufactured before, and I can never remember the year exactly. Is it 1904? It's something like that, because it's not a gun if it was made before 1904, or whatever the year is in law. I always forget. Is it 1898? Is it 1904? It's 1906? It's something like that. But if it was made before that, it's not a gun, even if it is a gun, because it's not, because it was made before that year. You know, because reasons. Everyone has to have a boating accent. Yeah, I sure. You answered the question on firearms I didn't see as I was handing the fire. Yeah, pistol braces. Yeah, United States versus Roe. All right, let's take a look at United States versus Roe real fast. We're on a late night stream. We're not really here to talk about anything in particular. Let's see if we can do a very fast read of whatever this thing is. United States versus Roe. R-O-H, Roe, not R-O-E, Roe. Because normally when you say Roe, you're thinking anonymous name. This is R-O-H, not R-O-E. So this is not an anonymous person. Their name is R-O-H. So we got an indictment. We got some bonds. We got some bullshit. Blah, 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 blah. Government supplemental brief. Blah, blah, blah. Trial brief by the defendant. We could read that, I guess. Blah, blah, blah. Memorandum of law with defendant. Opposition and motion for judgment of acquittal. Leave the file. There's so much stuff here. Minutes of closing arguments. Plea agreement. Oh, there's a plea agreement. Well, that will usually solve a lot of things. Let's read if we can read the plea agreement. That might contain what we need to know. Let's speed read a plea agreement. Pleaded guilty of 1 count. Charged defense in engaging the business of manufacturing firearms without a license. Blah, blah, blah. Didn't have a license as a firearms manufacturer. Maximum offense, period of time, pleading guilty, give up rights. Not a citizen, may have this. Okay. Defendant and the attorney agreed to the following. In 2013, 2014, defendant engaged in the business of manufacturing firearms without a license by making AR-15 type rifles and pistols that will expel a projectile, blah, blah, blah. Did this through a process that included machining the lower assembly of an AR-15 firearm and then installing the remaining parts onto the assembly. So it looks like he machined the lower receiver and then installed parts onto that, which I think would qualify. Waiver of stuff, waiver of rights, breach of agreement, pretrial services, and no additional agreements, and that's end. So it looks like he was manufacturing firearms, at least according to the plea. Transcript filed as to proceedings on 6-4. Is this like the allocution? All right, so this is an allocution. How old are you? I'm 51 years old. I finished 3 years of college and got elected to get married in the 4th year. Have you taken any medications for drugs? How long have you been on a regimen? Okay. Blah, blah, blah. Going through all the plea hearings. Yeah, plea hearing stuff. Judge lists all the rights that you have. Would you like to waive the rights? Do you understand by pleading guilty it means a lot of these stuff? Do you join and concur in this? The government would recite the following elements of 922A1A. The defendant willfully engaged in the business of manufacturing firearms, did not have a license. Do you understand the nature? Have you pled? Do you have any questions? Have you been advised about the maximum? Statutory maximum. Any questions about the fine? The number of years, about probation. Typical plea. Some sort of program that he would be able to do for some sort of probation or parole or something. Discussing the plea agreement. Do you understand that you're waiving this? Do you understand the offense calculation? Do you understand that we're not bound by that? Do you understand I can sentence you to anything within the statutory range? Did you read the plea agreement? Do you understand the plea agreement? Okay, so yeah. The government would have to prove the following facts. engaged in the business of manufacturing a firearm without a license by making AR-15 type rifle and pistol that expel a projectile by action of explosive. Did this through a process of machining a lower assembly of AR-15 type firearm and installing the remaining parts onto the assembly. Defendant engaged in this conduct willfully, that is, knowing this conduct was unlawful, carried out this business in a warehouse located on Beach Boulevard in the city of La Habra in Orange County within the Central District of California. He charges customers $1,000 per firearm. That sounds suspiciously like he was manufacturing firearms. Yeah, so it looks like that on the top of his things. Yeah, ROH is in the name. That's kind of cool. The ATF dropped charges to avoid the precedent of an AR-15 lower being the firearm. Oh, I'd have to get into the weeds on that. And that may or may not be the reason that they did that. That may or may not be the reason that they chose to drop those charges or not. You can't really get into motives necessarily. ATF raised Palmer 80 and decided they need to raid some people who ordered from them. Yeah. Law says the receiver that contained both the trigger group and the barrel split receives that screw up. ATF decided the lowers for most rivals were the receiver. The law says otherwise. I don't know if the law actually says otherwise. It's been a while since I've checked, but whatever. What do I think about English common law? I think it's pretty great. What if 80% of the gun was made before 1904? I don't know about that. That's funny, though. An unmanufactured, yeah, apparently his name is Roe. ROH. Actually gave his name in full. What's his first name? It says Mr. Roe. Oh, it's Joseph Roe. Okay, well, good enough for Joseph, I guess. Rick says, "Hey Kurt, bad timing for chat for me. Waiting for my keyboard caps to dry for my keyboard." Okay, that's a very interesting thing for sure. The court rejects the government's position here with respect to receivers a mere and permissible interpretation. At least one court rejected it, I guess. Fair enough. In the motion to dismiss, there's not simply tension between the government's position and Section 478.11. There's a disconnect. Fair enough. Can the federal government force gun laws on individual states? Unfortunately, yes, because Wickard v. Filburn. Wickard v. Filburn is the answer to all your "can the federal government do this" questions. Yes. Jekyll says, "Wait, thank you for your service. I came here from Leonard. I stay here now." Excellent. Is Leonard streaming, or was he? If so, I'm sorry I missed him. Read the bottom of page 5 and page 6 of what? I'm in like 5 different documents. When you say read the bottom of page 5 or 6, you have to be a lot clearer. Here's a non-legal question. What are your hobbies? Well, other than YouTube, which is taking up a fair amount of time, and I'm not unhappy about that because I'm really enjoying it. My other hobbies, I've been taking classes on improv. I've actually been finishing classes in Washington, D.C. because of telework. Everyone's doing stuff remotely. So I've been able actually to finish my courses in D.C. So I took 2 levels of short form improv, which is kind of like Whose Line Is It Anyway, at Little Theater of Alexandria, and now I just finished level 5 from long form improv at Washington Improv Theater, also known as WIT, in Washington, D.C., where we learn the Herald, which is a 30-minute long improv. And so you do it long form. And so I just finished level 4. Level 5 is next. So yeah, that's my other really big hobby. Other than that, I mean, that consumes a lot of time actually between doing that and YouTube. But I do like pistol shooting. I'm much more a pistol shooter than anything else. I don't do it as much as I used to, but I enjoy that. I like going to wineries. I like going to breweries. Not a lot of that going on in COVID world, but when there's non-COVID, those are kind of hobbies I enjoy. I went out on a speed date the other night. No girls apparently found me interesting because I got no matches. But, that's okay. We'll try again sometimes. So. The judge in that case is the AR-15 lower receiver. The statutory definition of firearm. Fair enough. Law baby, uncivil wife expecting. No. I don't have a wife. Let's talk about law, comma, baby, maybe. Oh no. I'll just put a comma in there. But I'm not married and I have no kids. There, I'll put a comma in there. Where was I? Just Witch Barnes on Alex Jones. They have a letter on their locals board to put pressure on senators to stand up. Okay, noted. You have finished baking cookies? Yes. There is no uncivil life. I am open to suitors. That's true. What I think is better, common law, I think is better. Yeah, I think common law is a lot better because the problem with civil law is basically every case gets interpreted on its own, which means you're more likely to get disparate results from case to case. So I think common law is superior. Although I've never experienced civil law personally, so I'm biased by growing up in it. But it seems better because things are more predictable in common law because every case is judged on what came before. So things are more predictable, it seems. Hello, Boomhauer. Hello, NATO. Yeah, level 5 improv. Yeah. So yeah, in the Washington different improv schools do it differently. But at Washington Improv Theater, every level is an 8-week course. So that means at this point I've finished 24? No. 8 times 4, 32. 32 weeks of improv classes. And when I finished level 5, yeah. So, and then I've taken, and the level 1 and level 2 of short form were about that. So I've done about a little bit more than a year's worth of improv classes. So I've really, really enjoyed that. It's been a lot of fun. Yeah. You just moved from Alexandria to an undisclosed location? Fair enough. Is that like Brown Belt? Maybe something like that. Speed date COVID style? Yeah. What is my beer style? Anything other than sours. I don't like sours. Otherwise, it depends on my mood. I'm not really strictly loyal to anything. If you had to like pick one style of beer, that's for me. It'd be like a session IPA. So usually, what you mean by a session IPA is it's lower in alcohol and lower in IBU because that way it doesn't burn your taste buds out and you can drink longer. So when you think about a session, it's because you're drinking it over a session, a longer period of time, so you have more of them and it doesn't burn you out. So yeah, if you had to pick like one style of me, like a session IPA, so lower alcohol, not low alcohol, but lower IBU, which is bitterness, so it doesn't burn you out. That would be like the one that is I'm most loyal to. But I drink everything depending otherwise. So I'll drink, white ales, I'll drink wheat ales, I'll drink stouts, porters, I'll drink, pilsners, which is the exact opposite end of the spectrum. I'll drink brown ales, I'll drink red ales, I'll drink quadruples. I'll drink everything basically except sours. I don't like sours. Otherwise, it's pretty open. I do like American beer in general because I like craft beer. Because American craft beer, there's so much stuff out there and it's really good. So, speed dating is still a thing. Always safe to talk about the election, I guess. Love the show. You cast Vivo about civil law? Yeah, maybe. Hey, friend. Hey, Holly. How are you doing? Should have asked her if she wanted to Westlaw and chill. That's funny. Yeah. You wanna Westlaw and chill? Ugh. I wanna shepherdize you, baby. Is that is that a thing? I want to search you for controlling authority. Wow, there's so many bad jokes here that are possible. Uh, there's many good dicta jokes in there somewhere, like So yeah, it's like why don't you look me over for my dicta? I don't know. There's so many good jokes in there somewhere. I need to apologize as I was playing Ghost of Tsushima, and I stopped because I saw your late night streaming. Congratulations in your love for improv. Yeah, improv is great. The law is a joke. There's always ways to bend the law for people with influence. Well, that's really encouraging, Ahmed. Thank you for playing along. Why are people so into beer but not whiskey? I love all the alcohols. I love all the alcohols very much. My first love is beer. When I went to undergrad, there was a bar. I went to Clemson for undergrad, as I'm sure many of you know, and there was a bar that's not there anymore. The bar was called Keith Street, which is conveniently located on Keith Street. And Keith Street had something like 140 different beers between tap and bottle, and they had a list. And if you drank your list, you got your name on the wall. And I think I did it 4 times. And then they closed and the bar shut down, and my name was no longer on the wall. It's very sad. But yeah, beer was my first love. That's where I started my journey. And then I've done the whiskey trail. I did the Bourbon Trail in Kentucky. Hold on, and I've got my credentials here somewhere. Yeah. So showing my whiskey love, I'm a Tennessee Squire with Jack Daniels. So I got some Jack Daniels. I own a 1 square inch of land at the Jack Daniels distillery. So I got that going on for me. And in my pantry, I still got the bottle from me being an ambassador for Maker's Mark, where I ordered the bottle when I was 21 and then had to pick it up like 10 years later because they made it for me from scratch. And I still have the bottle, in my cabinet. So, and I love my wine, do the wineries. I've been overseas, done winery tours. All the alcohols are my friend. Rum is where it's at. I like Sailor Jerry for rum. Margarita, cubes or blender? Yeah, I like it typically. I like it on the rocks rather than blended typically. Nitro milk stout, good choice. Good. I like some milk stouts for sure. Yeah. You should find a good rye IPA. Ooh, nice. Lexus in my Nexus. Oh yeah. Am I licensed to practice law in New Mexico? No, I'm just licensed in Virginia right now. Did you see or cover the Facebook Antitrust? I did see the Facebook Antitrust. Facebook is getting slammed by something like 48 different states. They're getting destroyed. And I just saw the one that Texas filed with like 11 against Google. Google will have it's a lot of problems. Lessa says, I first watched you the day you heard your head about the wall, about the KJ trap. It was historical. Apparently the head against the wall thing really made my channel grow. Who knew? If I knew that banging my head against the wall for KJ would make my channel grow, I would have done it a lot earlier, right? Yeah. I've always hated beer. Fair enough. I've really gotten to Scotch though. So far, Monkey Shoulder is my fave. Fair enough. I prefer bourbon to Scotch. But to each their own. That's fine. My brother is doing that at a craft place in India. That's, yeah. Random ownership of random land is something I want to. Could you vote in Tennessee then? That's a good question. Probably not. But that's an interesting idea. Yeah. Sorry, could you explain that pick it up 10 years later thing? Oh yeah, sure. So when I turned 21, I became an ambassador for Maker's Mark. And because I became an ambassador for Maker's Mark, they said that they would allocate a bottle for me that they would make. So it takes that long to make bourbon. So they put my name on a list and they made the bourbon for me. And it takes a while because, you have to actually make it. And to make bourbon, you have to age it in new white oak for at least 2 years by law, and Maker's Mark does it longer. And so, that's why it took forever, because they made it for me from scratch. And it takes a long time. So, there you go. Bourbon takes a while. Yeah, if you're curious, bourbon has to be aged at least 2 years if you want to call it straight bourbon. Technically, it doesn't have to be aged 2 years if you don't want to call it straight bourbon. Technically, it just has to be aged in new white oak for any period of time. But if you want to call it straight bourbon, it has to be aged for at least 2 years. And technically, Jack Daniel's is bourbon, although it's more properly classified as Tennessee whiskey because it goes through a charcoal filtering, which doesn't preclude it from being bourbon, but is what needs to happen for it to be Tennessee whiskey. So technically speaking, Jack Daniel's is bourbon. It's also a Tennessee whiskey, but yeah. Kraken Dark Rum. Surprised that after all that improv, you lack the confidence to take on Barnes. It's just talking heads and shouting, So it's like it's not that I lack. It's just an exercise in frustration, I think. I thought this was an AA count channel. Oh man, I don't know what you thought about that. Micro Mark Distillery is very pretty. I think Woodford is a prettier, but that's a personal opinion. Hendrick's Gin, I tend to like Beefeater myself. Was it worth the wait? Sure. All right, let's see what else is going on in Supreme Court land. So the NCAA thing is going to be a big deal. The Ninth Circuit is going to get reversed. I can pretty much get sure of that. So that'll be interesting. What else is going on in Supreme Court land? Excuse me. Supreme Court puts off ruling in the census case. Yeah, they didn't expedite it. Okay. Why Trump's attempt to steal the election was too much even for Republican judges from Vox. I feel insulted by that title. Judges are highly political, but they aren't exactly like politicians. So Vox is being a bit of a dick. What else is new? Excuse me. And we had the 4 decisions from the Supreme Court. We covered some of those on the last Supreme Court React. That was fun. What day is it today? 17th? Let's see what's going on the calendar from the Supreme Court recently. Let's see what some recent arguments that they've had are. Collins versus Muchin. Federal housing agency structure violates separation of powers. So that's going to be the same as the Consumer Protection Board, and I need to know exactly how the Federal House Financing Agency structure is set up to be able to answer that question based on precedent, and I don't know that right now. Henry Schrein versus Archer, whether arbitration agreements are decided by the arbitrator or by the court. Facebook versus Drugid. Oh yeah, that's dealing with automated dialing. That's dealing with robo dialing and whether or not Facebook is within that statute or not. Germany versus Philip. What is Germany suing for now? And why are they suing Philip? Where the expropriation exception of the Foreign Services Immunity Act, which abrogates foreign services immunity when rights on property are taken in violation of international law, provides jurisdiction over claims that foreign sovereigns have violated international human rights law when taking property from its own national within its borders, even though such claims do not implicate established international law governing states' responsibility for taking property. Wow, that sounds like a whole bunch of international law crap. Okay, so this is apparently... All right, so apparently this is good. All right, so Philip, okay. Some guy, Philip, is apparently suing the government of Germany, and apparently is suing them over something from the Holocaust, because of course it is. Something arising from Nazi-era art sales. So the Nazis selling art that presumably was not theirs. I wonder how the Nazis acquired it. Okay, so Philip over here wants to sue Germany in a U.S. court. Okay, so let me reread this question. So whether the expropriation exception of the Foreign Services Immunity Act, so the Foreign Services Immunity Act says that you can't sue a foreign government unless you can. So one of the things is expropriation, which abrogates foreign services immunity when rights and property taken in violation of international law are an issue. Provides jurisdiction over claims that a foreign sovereign has violated international human rights law when taking property from its own nationals within its own borders, even though such claims do not implicate the established international law governing states' responsibilities for taking property. And whether the doctrine of international comity is unavailable in cases against foreign sovereigns, even in cases of considerable historical and political significance to the foreign sovereign, and even where the foreign nation has domestic framework for addressing the claims. So can we sue Germany over the Holocaust in the United States, I guess, is something that someone wants to bring a case over. And the U.S. Supreme Court had an argument over it on December the 7th. That might be fun. Maybe we should do that for a Supreme Court react. It's late. Maybe we could do it now. Maybe we could just do it right now. We could figure out whether or not someone can sue Germany over the Holocaust. Fun. In the United States. Oh, and then there's and just in case you don't want to do the Germany one, just in case the Republic of Germany wasn't of interest to you. How about Republic of Hungary versus Simon? We could do that one. Or maybe we could do the Republic of Hungary case, whether Simon can sue Hungary. Whether the district court may abstain from exercising jurisdiction under the Foreign Sovereigns Immunity Act for reasons of international comity in a matter in which the former Hungarian nationals have sued the nation of Hungary to recover the value of property lost in Hungary during World War II, but the plaintiffs made no attempt to exhaust local Hungarian remedies. So more of the Nazis stole our shit, but this time we want to sue the nation of Hungary. Apologize, Republic of Hungary. That sounds like some deep-seated bullshit that we could do. Man, that's... You want the Republic of Germany or you want the Republic of Hungary? Who can we sue today? CIC services versus the IRS, where the Anti-Injunction Act bars on lawsuits for the purpose of restraining the assessment or collection of taxes, also bars challenges to unlawful regulatory mandates issued by administrative agencies that are not taxes. I never really thought about it. The Anti-Injunction Act basically prevents you from getting an injunction against the IRS for taxes. You have to pay your taxes first, then you can sue the IRS. The Anti-Injunction Act prevents you from getting an injunction. You can sue, you just can't get an injunction. So you have to pay your taxes, then you can sue them. But whether that also applies to regulatory mandates. These are questions I never thought about before. And then, of course, we have Nestle versus Doe with the African child slavery. Can we sue Nestle for the having African child slaves? Can we sue them can we sue Nestle for having the child slaves in Africa under the Alien Tort Statute? That's a lot of fun stuff that's not election related. You know? I think it's cool you got your Maker's Mark after 10 years. Hey, Leto, how are you doing? Ahmad James is trying to troll the chat. That law is bad. That seems like a sad thing to do. I'm not sure why you're trying to troll the chat. That seems like a sad thing, but you can be sad. Let's all comment. Let's all express sympathy for Ahmad James's sadness. Ahmad James is sad because he thinks the law is a fraud. It's okay to be sad, Ahmad. We can all express our sympathy for your sadness. I hope you feel less sad in the future. Did I steal a video of Como saying that sheriffs don't enforce laws or dictators? I did not, but that's funny. Sort of. Ahmad James is determined to troll the chat. Yeah. Yeah. UK, we sue Africa for blood diamonds. Ooh, that sounds like fun too. Can I sue Nike for using Uyghurs? Probably not you, but maybe a stockholder could. That might be interesting. Maybe a stockholder might be interesting. That might be, I don't know who can sue them. Do I know anything about space law? Not particularly. Technically, it's maritime law in the absence of any other treaty or something. So yeah, well, those are some fun ones. We got some fun cases. We can do some Germany versus Philip, or we could do some Hungary versus Simon. We got a lot of Supreme Court cases to discuss. There is law happening outside of elections, thank God. What else is happening in law land? Oh yeah, I saw the girls of Girls Do Porn. So okay, so we did a reading of that lawsuit when it was filed in civil case. So there were a bunch of girls. So there was a company called Girls Do Porn. Creative. And they defrauded a whole bunch of girls. They did fraud in the inducement. So the girls sued over fraud in the inducement, and they won eventually. So yeah, they defrauded a whole bunch of girls and tricked them into doing porn by making false pretenses. Okay, and as part of the damages of that, they got the copyright. So, copyright is the whoever films it, right? So therefore the copyright was owned by the company. But when they sued, as part of the damages relief, they got the copyright. So then they own the copyright. So then they can give takedown notices because now it's their copyright. So apparently they gave takedown notices to Pornhub, among other places. And those places didn't actually take it down. So yesterday, the girls from Girls Do Porn sued Pornhub in federal court for damages. And they're still listed as anonymous. And this is like the worst idea I've ever had in the history of my life, because I don't know that I want the press, and I'm imagining I'd get press. But I don't know why. I don't know why, but I want to. I'm half tempted, or a little bit tempted, to file a motion to unseal their names, because it's a journalistic exercise, right? There's a presumption that people's names should be public in a lawsuit, and the fact that their names are secret or their names are sealed It's like you have to make a whole bunch of burdens that aren't there. And so like I'm half tempted to file a motion as a third party to unseal their names and see how that goes over in the District Court of California. That might be interesting if I file a motion as a third party intervener and say I want their names unsealed because the public has a right to know, which just makes me just a massive dick. So I'm not sure that's a good idea, but theoretically I could. So, good times. I'm not sure if I'd win, but I could file the motion. Yeah. I don't know if it's technically doxing or not. Because as a matter of law, they're not entitled to a presumption of anonymity. The law requires you to put your name out there. You're not entitled to the idea of these lawsuits in secret. Lawsuits in secret are bad. And the idea of people filing motions to seal and motion to seal dockets, it's like that's not how it's supposed to work. The things are supposed to be in the public. Lawsuits are supposed to be in the public. The people have the right to see their courts working. And so, like, every time a lawsuit is put in seal and the documents are sealed, like, for example, right now, the U.S. attorney and other people are trying to seal documents dealing with the Ghislaine Maxwell stuff in the Virgin Islands. There was a motion filed to try to seal some of the stuff dealing with Ghislaine Maxwell in the Virgin Islands. Like, don't people have an interest in that? Just because it might embarrass one of the parties, it's like there's no presumption of privacy. So the fact that they're just like filing as Jane Doe's, it's like, it's a bit problematic. Did Ahmad leave? Ahmad left. Ahmad left the sadness. Yeah, it's not doxing when you have the judge to do the doxing. Yeah. I thought about for the Schadenfreude of it all, about filing the motion as an anonymous party, because I think that'd be hilarious, right? If I come as John Doe filing the motion to unseal because they don't have the right to be anonymous, and then make a point in the motion of how I'm filing as anonymous and I don't actually have the right to do it, and that's the point of the whole thing. So that might be fun if I filed as a John Doe anonymously and see if they like realize the irony of the whole thing. How do I feel about all the progressives in Congress holding their vote for speaker until they hold a vote for floor vote on M4A? I don't know what M4A is. Should lawyers live stream while sucking on an unlit cigar? I don't know. Yeah. Oh, how was it fraud? Oh, it's fraud in the inducement. So the fraud in the inducement is a contract theory. So the lawsuit was over fraud in the contract. So each of the girls had signed a contract as part of their participation in the porn and some waivers. And so you can have, when you have fraud, you can have two different kinds of fraud, incidentally. So we can learn something about this, right? So you can have two different kinds of fraud. There's what's called fraud in the inducement and fraud in fact. So fraud in the inducement is you're tricked into the agreement. Fraud in fact is the agreement isn't what you think it is. So an example of fraud in fact would be, I sell you a BMW, but it's not really a BMW. What it really is a Toyota that I've somehow made to look like a BMW. So like, yeah. So I didn't trick you by making false pretenses. I tricked you by giving you something than you wanted, right? So I made fraud in fact. So fraud in the inducement is I tricked you into the agreement. So I gave you what I promised, but I fraudulently induced you into the agreement. So you got what I promised you. It's just I made fraud to get you there. And the way that the fraud and the inducement worked in this particular situation is the company Girls Do Porn, in their advertising, made a whole bunch of representations, and their advertising and their communications made a whole bunch of representations to these girls that they could keep it confidential. What they told these girls pretty much unanimously is that what they said on the phone and what they said to them before they got to the venue. What they said to them is that this porn was being filmed for a private collector. They said like Eastern Europe or Australia, and it would never be online. It would never be digitized. It was just available for a private collector, which apparently this is a thing that actually exists. Apparently there are private collectors out there who actually do this. So the idea isn't ludicrous, because there are people who get their porn for free, and then there are people who pay for their porn, and then there are people who pay for custom porn, pay for porn just for them. This is OnlyFans on steroids, or this is old school OnlyFans, or whatever. Anyways, there's some hardcore people out there, apparently. They want exactly what they want. Anyways, the company made a whole bunch of representations that this would not be distributed digitally, that no one would know about it, and they promised them money, and then they flew them out to Las Vegas, I believe, where all these were actually filmed in the real world. And then once they got there, the producer would find some sort of flaw in their body, and they'd give them less money. So they said, well, we're going to give you $10,000 or whatever the number is. Then they get out there and they'd say, oh, you have some sort of flaw of whatever, even though like they are basically perfect. They're basically 10 out of 10 perfect. But the producer would say, oh, we found some sort of flaw, so we're actually going to give you some less. And the flaw didn't really exist. It was part of the fraud. And then they would get them drunk and or high, and they would give them the paperwork to sign at the last minute, just before it would film, as they were drunk or high. And in the agreement they signed, it said, this could be filmed for any purpose and blah, blah, blah. But, because it was being done at the last minute, just before they're about to start, and they're already drunk or high, they're not exactly reading what they're saying, and they're already in a high pressure environment because they're in the hotel room, and people are already being undressed and blah, blah, blah. And so there's fraud in the inducement. So that's the story of Girls Do Porn. So there you go. Have I had Basil Hayden? Yes. It's not my favorite, but I have had it. Answer my super chat. There was a super chat. I'm sorry. Is it likely for the plaintiffs to drop a frivolous suit after defendants propound discovery? Possible. Proposed discovery, I assume you mean. Maybe. Yeah, it's possible. It's possible. If it's truly frivolous. Well, I mean, if it's truly frivolous, you wouldn't expect to get to discovery, because you would have expected it to get to a motion to dismiss. And discovery is part of the normal process. So, like, why as plaintiffs you would drop it after getting past the motion to dismiss, I don't know. But yeah, I wouldn't think it's particularly likely, because if it's frivolous, it should have been dismissed before that point. Yeah. Rick says, Ginger Good says, this is my favorite channel. Uncivil Law is great, and Chad's pretty nice and chill. Yeah, that's good. I'm glad. I like it to be chill. I found Uncivil Law through Viva. I follow a few YouTubers who needs to say I enjoy Uncivil Law. That's nice. Yeah. Yeah, thanks for the porn industry recap. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, signing drunks while drunk high sounds invalid. There were many problems. There were many problems in the agreement. It is kind of dark, yes. Only 14 likes? I know, it's sad. Well, I got 54 likes now, so it seemed to work up. Grifters rise up. Hey, that's fine. I will bang my head against the wall for super chats. How about that? I'll bang my head against the wall for super chats. It's late at night though, so I won't be able to bang it super hard. But I'll bang my head against the wall for super chats so you can get more of that banging head against the wall super action that you guys love so much. You know. Yeah, Nick doesn't stream tonight and just swoop right in. Yeah, I mean, I want to stream, man. I want to talk about stuff. I don't need his permission. I don't need Nick's permission. I can stream on my own. I'm a big boy. I do like Nick's streams though. He has a real nice stream of consciousness thing going. He's been doing it a lot longer than me though, so it's not hard to imagine why. I've only been doing it for about a year, and we've been making progress. So hey. So let's see what's going on in law world. Let's see what's going on in like how appealing. Being a grifter is a badge of honor. Yeah. With a woman in prison for a stillbirth, California's murder law is tested. Apparently, California put a woman in prison for, well, probably presumably for drugs she took. Without reading the article, I'm guessing it's because of drugs she took. Because then that would be potentially murder. So without even reading the article, I'm guessing it's because of high drugs she took. So let me read the article and see if I'm right. She was charged with murder after she delivered a stillborn baby, with authorities alleging methamphetamine use. Well, what do you know? $5 says Nick's chat is a lawless wasteland and I love it. I guess it works for him, yeah. Next late night shaft stream. Man bangs softly for super chats. I love it. You're a bigger man than Kurt. I couldn't do this. Law has attributed the worst to the country. Ahmed James is being a bit trolly, but that's okay. Mulfard says this is for the headbang. Also, what do you think would be your favorite law case to study for informative? What would be my favorite law case to study for fun information? I mean, my favorite law case of all time is Whitney versus California, Justice Brandeis's concurring opinion. I did a recording on it one time and I literally cried during it. I cried because it's such beautiful prose. It makes me weep for its happiness. It's the best explanation of freedom of speech maybe ever written. Justice Brandeis's opinion in Witness versus California. It's unbelievable. And yeah, that's my favorite case of all time, bar none. So, Justice Brandeis's opinion, Whitner versus California. Brilliant exposition on the First Amendment. I did a reading of one time and I actually broke down crying because it made me so happy. How many likes to start downing whiskey and get a white girl wasted? Like a certain someone we know. I get white girl wasted? I could do that. Yeah, waiting for the moment the Uncivil law reaches the end of the chat stream and gets annoyed and loads more one jumps. I'm trying to avoid that, yeah. Yeah. I second the motion, beaming you up 5. Okay, so I got $15 worth of super chats, so I will do a few headbangs. I'll do a few headbangs for super chats. But I have to do it very softly because, it's late at night. Yeah. I love you guys. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for the super chats. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you, Mullafard, for the $5. Lost Bullets. How many likes to start drowning whiskey? I don't know. We're getting there. $5 from Jeremy W. I second the motion. Great. Starship Enterprise for $5. Beaming you up 5. Fantastic. Yeah. So let's see what else is going on according to how appealing. there's some ruling from the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. What did the Pennsylvania Supreme Court rule on? Some bullshit. Oh, conflict of interest of the district attorney. What do we have to do to get you and Nick drinking your 2 drinks in each and start screaming about law? Hey, I'm down. I'm down. I'm down. Yeah, I mean, it's the middle of the night, guys. It's 1:46. I live in an apartment building. I do have to be a bit courteous to my neighbors at 1:46 p.m. When I record the other one, it was the middle of the day. So, think about Barnes. Yeah. I've been thinking and rethinking about the wisdom or it's an interesting thing because I think about everything. And I rethink about things because I'm always trying to figure out if I made the right decisions. I was trying to figure out if I made the right decision by putting out that video and criticizing Barnes, and whether or not it was a good thing to do. And there's a couple different ways to analyze that. On the one hand, I do praise people and criticize them when I think is necessary. So, like, I've criticized Legal Eagle much, and I've said nice things about Legal Eagle when it's needed. And one time I'm like, and when he was talking about the Trump lawsuits, I'm like, yeah, he's basically got it perfectly right. So I praised him when he needs to be. I praise lawyers when I think they're right and disagree with lawyers when I need to. And I think that if that represents my real critical thoughts about Barnes, then maybe it was good. But then I was thinking, well, does it really benefit me to antagonize someone when I don't necessarily have to? Because Barnes is out there and he's been saying nice things about me in the past, probably less now, I would imagine. So it's like, is it wise to just, say that and inflame somebody, maybe when it's unnecessary, and perhaps start drama when I'm not necessarily trying to start drama? But it's like, well, how do I avoid that? If how can I open my mouth and not start a drama thing? And I don't think it's going to become a drama thing, and I'm certainly not going to try to extend it, but I've been trying to figure out the wisdom of that. It's like, was it correct for me to do that, or should I keep my mouth shut? And I don't know. I don't know whether or not it was correct or not. I'm still thinking about it. So the chats, the comments in the YouTube seemed roughly divided. I didn't keep an exact score, but there was a number that seemed to think that I was brave and doing some good stuff, and there was some that seemed to think I was very critical of me and what I was doing. So I was analyzing, was it the right thing to do? Should I have done that? So I don't know. How about a review of Texas House Bill 196? Oh, yeah, I don't know. Texas House Bill. Let's take a look. Regarding the use of deadly force on property. So what are they changing? Ooh. Are they trying to change this from stand your ground? It looks like they're trying to change this from stand your ground, or at least that looks like the intent of this, if I'm reading this properly. Because it changes the language, a person who has the right to be present at the location where deadly force is used, to a person who is in the person's own habitation. So it looks like A2. Oh, if the actor is unable to safely retreat. Yeah, they're trying to change it. They're trying to change it to a duty to retreat. Oh, it'll never pass. Oh yeah, HB 196. That someone would comment on him on. Oh yeah, this will never pass. This is trying to change Texas into a duty to retreat state. So yeah, Texas House Bill 196 is trying to change Texas into a duty to retreat state. Oh, this will never pass. That's what I think about it. Yeah. Why do you even give Devin clicks? Well, I don't know. I think at least for me, it's an issue of integrity. It wasn't about giving him clicks as such. It's just I thought he was right. And as critical of Legal Eagle Devin as I am or have been, if I think he gets it right, I think I have some sort of obligation to say, I think he got it right. I mean, that's how I thought about it. I just read it. And wow, he got this right. I should probably say he got it right. Try to be neutral, right? Try to be even handed. Just because he says it doesn't mean it's wrong. If he's right, I try to say it's right. So I don't think I'm giving Devin clicks. Devin definitely doesn't need my clicks. He's got plenty of clicks. I said I thought he was right because I thought he was right. Because I think I want to be accurate, and if I think he's right, I think he's right. So Miss Glow. Oh God, he's back. I am. T channels can start covering you with your drama. Have your face next to Toddy. Oof. Oh no, it's worse than Castle Doctrine. It's getting ready to stand your ground. Duty to retreat is garbage. Yeah, yeah, it is a bad language change. 5 to 7 years will pass. Maybe I'll move then. Uncivil law. You only would know if you watched. I can't stand looking at that smuggish face. I mean, fair enough. Can you do lawyer watches Legally Blonde because Legal Eagle definitely did not watch it and messed it up? Yeah, I might. $5 to open the thing I opened in DMs. I'll take a look, Barney. What is this? All right, I've opened the thing that Barney has made, which hopefully is going to prevent the chat from being a bitch. So let's find if it helps with being a bitch. I am in Texas. I'm in Austin. Well, I consider doing a constitutional series like what? Doing provisions of the Constitution? Yeah, that might be fun. I like the way it looks, Barney. That's cool. And it looks like it contains all the chat at least. So hey, that's cool. So maybe this will be the answer to my problems. Thanks, Barney, for trying to code me something so I don't have to deal with the YouTube chat. Someone sent me a whole bunch of codes for Torchlight, a game, and Thief, and Psychotrain, Alchemy Guard, and Snake Pass. sent me some number of Torchlight, Thief. Thief is a good game. Psycho Train, Alchemy Garden, Snake Pass, Legend of the Cane Soul Reaver 2, and Sorcery Part 3. So someone sent me codes for various games. Well, that's kind of cool, I guess. Thanks. I was trying to have a guy with a chat on transgender rights on Discord, and it was completely unhelpful. I can't get to definition what gender is. I mean, this is completely unhelpful. I couldn't even determine if he thought gender was objective or subjective. I'm trying to still figure out, like, I'm still trying to figure out the transgender thing because the definitions don't make sense to me. It's like, can you define gender for me? Apparently the answer to that question is no. His definition is gender is usually considered one's internal perception of self. That's completely unhelpful. I don't even know what that means. With respect to what? I don't know. The drama continues. I beat Cyberpunk 2077 for the first time. Now I got to beat it 10 more times. That's cool. Thanks. Oh, Boomhauer sent me things. Thank you, Boomhauer. That's nice. Appreciate it. Austin is the Portland of Southwest. Yeah, maybe. Do you agree with Leonard about My Cousin Vinny? I'm not sure exactly what he says, but it's a very good legal movie. And it has some really good legal stuff in it. It's really good for cross-examination work. There's some good stuff in there. How often do you fly to Virginia? No, I haven't been back to Virginia since I left. So I haven't been to Virginia in a year. You enjoyed my stream with Nate? Thanks. Yeah. Transgender just comes down to that what they are, what they say or they are. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Because like I don't understand it. Like I wanna be able to figure out what I'm agreeing with or disagreeing with, and I can't understand it, right? Because it's like, please define your terms. Like what is sex and what is gender? Like sex is biological sex. I'm like, okay, that's great. Like I can come up with a definition of biological sex. It's like, do you have a Y chromosome? If so, you're male. If not, female. Great. Congratulations. Now, like, you may or may not agree with that definition, but it's a definition. It's easy. There's no ambiguity in the definition, right? So, like, you can agree or disagree with the definition, but it's unambiguous and covers every possible case. So, you could come up with a different definition, but it's a completely cogent definition because it covers every possible case and it's unambiguous. Do you have a Y sex chromosome? If so, you're male. Otherwise, you're female. That covers every possible case. For better or worse. Okay. So then, like, you want to say gender is separate from sex. I'm like, okay, what is it? Is it subjective or objective? Is it fixed the day that you're born or not? Is it malleable or not? What is it? Well, it's if your gender is different than your sex. Yeah, but what's gender? If you perceive yourself as a female, but what does that even mean? How would I know if I perceive myself as a female or not? Because what would it mean to perceive myself as a female? What are the qualities of perceiving yourself as a female? What does that mean? What qualities, what am I basing it on? Like, what are the definitions here? What are the necessary qualities, or is it a weighting test, or like, how do you make this determination? It's just meaningless to me. It doesn't even mean anything. Is it association with stereotypes? So that's the one that like seems to be the most prominent. It's like, okay, I feel like a woman because of the way society, because of what society says women are. So I'm like, so it's stereotype based. So you think you're a woman because you feel the way that society says women should feel, or the way that women are described as feeling. So it's stereotype based, but I thought we didn't believe in stereotypes. So, like, a woman who doesn't believe in female stereotypes isn't a woman anymore? I thought we didn't believe in stereotypes. What are the rules? You know? So it's problems. I answered that. I said gender is not a malleable thing. Yeah. And then you sent me a whole bunch of things from the DSM. But that doesn't define gender. That defines what gender dysphoria is. But it doesn't actually define what gender is. Yeah, you sent me a whole bunch of things from the DSM that defines gender dysphoria, but it doesn't actually define gender. You define gender dysphoria, but without defining gender. So so it's not malleable. So it's fixed the day you're born. And I know what dysphoria can be, which might be externally influenced, but what is gender fundamentally, primarily? I'm still not really getting a good definition of what gender is fundamentally, except it's what you believe in. But what does that even mean? So it's problematic. So yeah, I was talking to Ken Jennings over here, and I was having some problems because it doesn't make sense to me. I'm starting to self-study for the patent bar. I was wondering if for $25 super chat discussing one of the federal rule sections they are tested on instead of a ruling. Oh man, that depends, because some of those sections are kind of deep. But good luck on studying for this patent bar. I didn't find it to be too hard, but whatever. I hope you do. Perception is reality. Perception can be kind of reality. Sure about those 5 minutes? Yeah. I think there's some weird genetic conditions that let you have a partial extra chromosome. Yeah, but that still fits within my definition. My definition is still all encompassing. All I said is, do you have a Y-sex chromosome? If yes, you're male. If not, you're female. That is all encompassing. So yeah, there might be some genetic conditions that let you have more than two, but my definition still encompasses those. It's like maybe it lets you have partial ones, yes, but my definition still encompasses those. My definition encompassed every possible theoretical case. It covers every possible theoretical case. Do you have a Y-sex chromosome? If so, you're male. If not, female. That covers every theoretical possible case. So yeah, there might be ones that give you partial chromosomes. It's just within the definition I already provided, because it includes every possible case. So gender generally hinges on roles. Me enough gender roles, and that kind of dictates your gender. But the feminists say there are no gender roles, right? That's the whole there are no roles that belong to say there are gender roles is to say there are roles that belong to genders. But the feminists say there are no roles that belong to genders, right? They say there are no roles that are fundamentally female, because a woman can do everything and a man can do everything. There's nothing a woman should do, right? That's a feminist idea. It's like nothing a woman should do fundamentally. So there's no such thing as a gender role. So it's based on stereotypes, but I thought we didn't believe in stereotypes. See what I mean? It all kind of works in circles. Well, at least it does to me. Gender is a social construct. That doesn't help me. Also, if it's a social construct, that means it could change at any time. Because if gender is truly a social construct, that means that your gender can change as society changes. So actually now gender's not malleable. So that means gender's malleable again, right? Because Ken Jennings said gender is not malleable. But if gender is a social construct, that means if society changes, your gender changes. It also implies that your gender might be different from country to country, or at least society to society. So that because different countries have different cultures. And if gender is a social construct, that means that your gender is no longer consistent as you're traveling on a plane. Your gender might be different at any given time. So your gender is malleable and transient. And if gender is a social construct, so there's no meaningful answer to what gender are you if it's a social construct, because it might be like, where am I? When am I? There's no meaningful. It's a meaningless concept at that point to some degree. It has no solidity. So these are the kinds of definitions I run into, or problems I run into. It's like, maybe I'm one gender in America and another gender in Canada. I mean, they're different cultures, right? And if it's a societal construct, I mean, they're different societies. So maybe it's different in Texas and Oklahoma. I don't know, right? I mean, that's what it would be implied with. Would it be possible to sue Legal for being named Devin? No, give him a break. That's not so bad. Different people have different interpretation of what someone else's expectations for gender is. So gender has no definition. If different people have different expectations, then gender has no definition. So the word itself is literally meaningless, right? Because if different people have different interpretations of what someone's expectation for gender is, the word is literally meaningless in that it conveys no information. Because if everyone has a different conception of it, the word conveys no meaning. So it is literally meaningless. So it's pointless. You rock, Karma Kid. Ken Jennings says you keep citing to the expectations, and radical people in the outskirts are who are blowing the lines. And that's why I don't understand it, because there are no definitions and there's no solidity, and I don't understand what the hell we're talking about, right? Yeah. I have a concealed carry permit in Washington. The state has banned services like United States Concealed Carry Association. That's sad. What are some other good legal options in the event that I have to defend myself? If there are no services that are available, then your next best option would be to have a retainer with a criminal defense lawyer. Contact. My recommendation would be contact your local state gun organization. They may have some more specific advice. Gender is the ability for people to read and call you a bigot if you disagree. I guess so. You have to accept these labels are a bit meaningless. Okay, then if it's meaningless, then it's fine. But it's just you can't ask me to accept trans rights, or you can't accept me to accept transgender people, because it's a meaningless term. I don't know what I'm accepting. So to say, do you accept transgender people is meaningless, because I have literally no idea what I'm accepting, because I don't know what gender is. So I certainly don't know what transgender is. And if I can't define what gender is, I can't define what transgender is. So then, do you accept transgender people? It's meaningless because it doesn't mean anything. I'm trying to put people in boxes. Yes. Yeah, a little bit. People don't like being put in boxes. Well, can you prove that you don't have a Y or X? Yeah, I could. I mean, They don't like boxes before you should live within theirs. That's a very fair point. Definition: gender is used to denote to the public, and usually legally recognized, lived role as a boy or girl, man or woman, but in contrast to certain social constructions theories. is to note to the public that you live a role as a boy or girl, man or woman. But that just begs the question, what does it mean? What does it mean to live a role as a man or a woman? What does that mean? Because what is a man's role? What is a woman's role? So when you say, Ken Jennings said, definition, gender is used to denote the public lived role as man or woman. Okay, what does it mean to have a lived role as a man or woman? What is a man's role? What is a woman's role, right? You can't live a role as a man. You can't live a role as a woman unless there is such a thing as a man's role, unless there is such a thing as a woman's role. So what is a man's role? What is a woman's role? So that I can live that role. What roles belong to women? What roles belong to men? What roles are excluded from women? What roles are excluded from men? Right? If you're going to have two different things, they have to be different. You have to separate them. Right? Or else you don't have two different things. Right? So if you have two categories, they have to be different. So you say gender is used to denote the public lived role as a man or a woman. Great. What does it mean to live a role as a man? What does it mean to live a role as a woman? What is a man's role? What is a woman's role? What roles belong to men? What roles belong to women? What roles are excluded from men? What roles are excluded from women? What is the difference between these categories? Or else it's meaningless. If you're going to differentiate, you have to actually differentiate. You know? What does that mean? You know? This is the logic circles I run into. I was under the impression there was no such thing as a man's role. I was under the impression there was no such thing as a woman's role. I was under the impression that there was no roles that belong exclusively to men or exclusively to women. I was under the impression that there were no roles excluded from men. There were no roles excluded from women. So I can't live a role as a man or woman because they're meaningless terms. If you're going to differentiate, you got to differentiate. What is the difference? You know? You see the problems? And you can't be gender fluid unless you can first defend genders. If be gender fluid would suggest that you're switching between genders or you're floating between genders, but unless you can define genders, there's nothing to float in between two. You know? To find different in Texas and Oklahoma, I mean, you know, they're different cultures, I'm sure. Yeah, internet commentator says, I've come to the conclusion, and the other says, the word gender describes nothing. Like, yeah, it's a meaning, then it's literally meaningless. It literally conveys no information. It is literally meaningless. Because it conveys no meaning. You know? Kurt has watched too much Joe Rogan and Tulsa rallies. Tulsi, it's not about that. I've just been trying to think about these issues for a long time and nothing makes any sense. And then people provide definitions. And I'm like, but if that's true, then here's some problems. Right? So this guy just provided the definitions like, oh, it's when you designate to the public if you're living a man's role or a woman's role. I'm like, that's great. What is a man's role? What is a woman's role? What roles belong to men? What roles belong to women? What roles are necessary? What roles are excluded? You know, let's actually do some definitions. So Holly Grace says, so you don't respect trans people? I don't even know what trans people are. Because I haven't been able to define it. That's my problem. So Holly Grace says, so you don't respect trans people? I don't even understand what they are because I don't understand what we're talking about. So I said, I can't support trans rights because I don't know what we're talking about. It's meaningless. It's literally meaningless. It contains no meaning. I don't understand it. The term to me conveys no meaning. So it's not that I don't respect trans people. I just don't know what one is. It's a meaningless term. It's literally meaningless. It conveys no information to me. And then I'm like, okay, please define the terms so that I understand what we're talking about. And people provide terms. I'm like, it's meaningless to me. So you have misunderstood me, or you have strawmanned me, or one of the two. But it's not that I don't respect it. I just literally don't understand what we're talking about. What is a trans person? How can I respect or not respect something when I don't even understand what it is? And then I'm like, okay, what is a trans person? People provide definitions. I'm like, it doesn't work. The definition doesn't work. So I don't know. It literally conveys no meaning. It's a meaningless term in the literal sense. And someone's like, it has meaning to me, but I'm like, it has no meaning to me. It conveys me no information. You know? Do I accept the idea that gender dysphoria is a psychological condition? I accept the idea that dysphoria is a condition. I just don't. And I understand that, like, people can feel dysphoria, but, you know, I mean, if we're going with DSM, then I'll go DSM 3. People's roles different in different cultures. Someone's role as a woman in Africa is different as Asia versus the United States. So someone would be a woman in one place but not others. Someone would be a man in one place or not others, or male or no man and not others. And in the United States, what is a woman's role in the United States? Someone's role as a woman in Africa is different in Asia versus the United States. What is a woman's role in the United States? Can you answer that question? Because you said someone's role as a woman in Africa is different in Asia versus the United States. What is a woman's role in the United States? What is a woman's role in the United States? What roles belong to women in the United States? What roles are necessary for women in the United States? What roles are excluded from women in the United States? What is a woman's role in the United States? Are you sure you're not a conservative? I mean, I could answer this from a conservative angle, but that seems not what the progressives want. What is a woman's role in the United States from a progressive left-leaning standpoint? What is a woman's role? What does that mean? Can you give me an example? Can you give me an example of something that would be a woman's role that would not be a man's role? Can you give me an example of something that would be a woman's role and not a man's role? Or could you give me an example of something that would be a man's role but not a woman's role? Could you give me an example of something that would be one category but not the other? Give me an example. Give me an example of something that's a woman's role but not a man's role. And give me an example of something that's a man's role but not a woman's role in the United States. In the United States. Give me an example. Let me know if you come up with something. You're not obligated, but calling people what they want to be recognized as is more important to them than important to you. Well, how can you judge that for me? That seems a bit presumptive. Who are you to judge? How do you know it's more important to them than it's important to me? Who are you to make that judgment? On what basis do you conclude it's more important to them than it is to me? Maybe it's more important to me than it is to them. Is it not? Am I not allowed for it to be more important to me? You say it is more important to them. How do you know? How are you judging the comparative importance to them and to me? Okay. A short role is man's role is whatever society deems it to be. That's completely unhelpful. It's really about societal viewpoints. What is a man's role in the United States then? under today's society. In today's society, what is a man's role? What is a man's role that's not a woman's role today? What is a woman's role that's not a man's role today in the United States? Can anyone think of an example? Yeah, Uncivil Law is trying to understand the other side. I am trying to understand the other side. I'm trying to work through the definitions they're providing. And I'm like, these definitions don't work, and here's why they don't work for me. Here's problems. I'm like, the definitions don't work. Here's why they don't work. Can you answer this for me? And so I can understand it. You know? Wasn't expecting to be deep thinking about trans women at 2:15 in the morning. Kurt cracks me up. Hey, we think at all times a day. You know? I think the underlying problem is we assign too much importance to it. Maybe. Yeah. By the way, incidentally, to Barney, this thing seems to be working so far. So, thank you. So far, so good. I feel like you'd watched ContraPoints about definition of gender. I'm pretty sure I did watch it. I'm not sure I came away any smarter, though. You'd be good at improv? Yeah, I do. I do improv. Thanks. Yeah. See, the problem is you're trying to apply critical thinking. Something's more feel than real. Apparently. Apparently. The chat has been raided? Maybe. Guns is a social construct? That's funny. Oh, yeah, internet commentary. Didn't you just turn 21? Didn't you just have your birthday? Or am I thinking of someone else? I think you just had your birthday, didn't you? Happy birthday, internet commentator. I believe you just had your birthday, if memory serves correctly. Uncivil Law. Zara says you're winning, by the way. I'm not sure what exactly I'm winning, but thank you. You know? Woman's role in this case is a feminine role. Going to a hairdresser and girl sleepovers. I don't know there are a lot of women necessarily doing sleepovers because women implies adult. Uh, and going to the hairdresser, I go get my hair cut and stuff too. I need a haircut incidentally because it's getting a little long. Ken Jennings says, thank you. I'm a clinical therapist. I'm trying my best to explain this. I feel like he's not listening to me or talking past what I'm saying. I have clients with gender dysphoria. I'm not attempting to talk past you, Ken Jennings, because that would be extremely rude. And I understand that you're trying, and I'm trying too. And maybe we are talking past each other, but you're saying something and I'm trying to respond to it. So I'm desperately trying not to act in bad faith. It's just that you say something and I then respond to it because you say, here's a definition. I'm like, here's why it doesn't work. And maybe I'm talking past you, or maybe I'm not understanding what you're trying to say to me. That's possible. And maybe this is just like we're talking different languages or something. Or maybe it's late at night and we can't understand each other. And I understand you're trying. And I understand that you do clinical work and you have these clients. And maybe you understand something I fundamentally don't understand. That's totally possible. I mean, I don't necessarily understand everything, and maybe this is one of the things I don't understand. Maybe I'm not capable of understanding it. You know, my intelligence doesn't allow for it. You know, I could have limitations, right? We can't presume that I'm capable of understanding everything, right? That'd be way overly presumptive. So there must be some things I can't understand, and maybe this is one of them. But I'm not trying to talk past you. I'm trying to like take you literally what you're saying. And I'm like, you say this, I'm like, that doesn't seem to work. Here's why it doesn't work. So I'm like, I appreciate your commentary, and I'm not trying to act in bad faith. I'm just like, you provide a definition, and I'm like, okay, given that definition, here's the problem. It's societally determined. I'm like, okay, if that's true, then that would mean that in different societies you'd be different genders. But I thought gender was fixed at birth. But you're telling me gender is determined by society. And if so, like, okay, because it's like all these definitions don't work. It's like you said, people say, okay, gender is fixed, it's non-malleable, but gender is a societal construct. Wait, those two thoughts don't go with each other. If it's not, it can't be both non-malleable and a societal construct. That doesn't make sense, because then that would mean that if society changed, the gender would have to change because it's a societal construct. So if it's a societal construct, it can't be non-malleable because it's a societal construct, which means if society changes, the gender must change. So therefore, it's malleable. But we started with it's non-malleable. So, and then you say, well, gender is a woman's role, a men's role. I'm like, okay, what is a man's role? What is a woman's role? What role belongs to men? What role belongs to women? What is excluded? What is excluded, right? So I'm trying to ask questions that seem like they flow naturally from the definitions that I'm getting, and they don't really completely make sense. So I'm not trying to talk past you. I'm not trying to give you an unduly hard time. I'm not trying to act in bad faith. I'm just trying to take the definitions that are applying. And I'm like, those definitions don't work for me because here's reasons why they don't work for me. The definitions don't work, right? I mean, they don't work. Now, if you ask me what my definitions are, I'm like, oh yeah, gender is the same thing as sex. And I'm done. So for me, it's easy. I'm like, yeah, there's no difference between gender and sex. They're the same thing. End of analysis. Now, you may not like that definition, but it's a cogent definition. Like, okay, what is sex? Well, if you have a Y sex chromosome, you're male. Otherwise, you're female. It's cogent. It's complete. It's all-inclusive. It's objective. You may not like it, but it completely is understandable, right? You either have a Y sex chromosome or you don't. If you do, you're male. It's cogent. It covers every possible case. It's clear. It's objective. It's all-inclusive, right? So that's my definition of sex. If you ask me what my definition of gender is, there's no difference between sex and gender. They're the same thing. And then, you're there. Now, you may not like those definitions, but they're complete, they're understandable, they're objective, they're clear, they cover every possible case, And then I ask you, okay, what are your definitions? And I keep getting definitions. I'm like, that definition doesn't work. Here's why it doesn't work. So I'm not trying to give you an unduly hard time. It's just literally don't understand it. I'm trying to ask questions. So I'm sorry if you're frustrated. I'm not trying to be unduly frustrating. Uncivil law, you'll never win no matter what you say. I'm not trying to win. I'm trying to understand their position. I'm not trying to win the argument. I'm not even necessarily trying to have an argument as such. I'm trying to point out weaknesses in the case that are being offered. I'm like, please provide me a definition. I'm like, here's the definition. I'm like, here's why that doesn't work. Can you give me a better definition? Counselor. And I'll use the counselor since you're a therapist, so we'll use counselor in both senses of the word. Now, this is the judge asking you, can you give me a definition? Here's a definition. Okay, here's why it doesn't work. Can you give me a better definition? And people keep like, okay, here's this definition. It doesn't work. Here's why it doesn't work. So I'm trying to think through the issue. Can I apply the same analytical method to the term sentient? Well, the very fact that I can ask myself the question means I'm sentient. To be sentient just means to be self-aware. And the fact that I'm able to ask the question means I'm sentient. I think, therefore, I am. Cargo, ergo sum, right? You're there. $5 from R.W. Bimble. Treat right to trans same as right to bear arms. States can ban it and require trans license. Can't break to work or school. I don't even know what we're talking about 100%. He apparently grabbed the definition of gender from DSM-5. Okay, well, in that case, the definition from DSM-5 sucks. In that case, the definition from DSM-5 sucks, and I've explained why it sucks. Brian says, I agree Kurt at least seems to have big problems humoring ideas he doesn't understand or disagree with. No, I'm just literally trying to work through them. And I'm trying to ask questions. Like, it's Socratic, right? I'm trying to ask questions and, like here's problems. I don't think I'm trying to have, I don't think I'm hostile. I just don't understand it. You know? Barney is the smartest guy I've seen on YouTube on social issues in 13 years. Cool. Your chat audience is wild, bro. We need to get your chat and Nick's chat together, lol. That's cool. I like Nick very much. Repeat the argument, but use sex in the place of gender? Yeah, I did. I can. They're the same to me. Why is it so hard to say this is a mental disorder and what they're describing is abnormal? Well, I'm trying to understand it from their point of view. I'm trying to understand what their definitions are. Because this is something on the left, like about trans issues and I don't understand it. I don't understand what we're talking about. So, like, I could say that. It's just that I'm literally trying to understand it. And then they propose a definition, and I'm like, that doesn't work. And then he says, apparently that's the definition from the DSM-5. And I'm like, oh, then the DSM-5 definition sucks. Because it doesn't make any sense. And here's why it doesn't suck. And here's why it sucks. Because the DSM-5 definition runs into this problem. What is a male's role? What is a female's role? You know? So then the definition sucks. Marty Moose says, I totally get Kurt's view on this now. Kurt always looks at the letter of the law and everything. Gender's not black and white, and Kurt's going to get stuck in a logical loop. Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to logic my way through this, and I can't do it. It doesn't work. I just cannot find a definition. I can't find a set of definitions that works on the other side that makes any sense consistently. And every time they provide a definition, I'm like, okay, here's another problem. Here's another problem. Here's another problem. We just run in circles. Is it societally constructed? Then it must be malleable. But I thought it wasn't malleable, because if it's malleable, that means it's changeable. And I thought it wasn't changeable, but it's societally constructed, which means it must be changeable, which means it's different from society to society, which means as I'm traveling on a plane, my gender must be changing. But wait a second, I thought my gender didn't change. So is it malleable or not? And it's like, oh my God, where are we? I can't get this straight. Nothing makes sense. You know? And then, of course, if it's malleable, if it's a societal construct, it's malleable, and if it's malleable, it's changeable, which means theoretically we can change someone's gender, which means we can make someone not trans. If it's a societal construct, right? All we have to do is make them not trans, which apparently is something we can do. If it's a societal construct, right? If it's a societal construct, then we can make them not trans, because we just can redefine it. And then they're not trans anymore because we've just poofed it out of existence by definition. Can we do that? I mean, if gender is a social construct, if gender is a societal construct, then we can make someone not trans. We just have to change the societal construct, and then suddenly they're not trans anymore. Poof. Right? We just did it. Because it's societally defined, and we can just change, and society can change. Right? Society can change. So that means that we can make someone not trans by just changing society. Poof. Can we do that? We're not. I thought it was a societal construct. Or wait, maybe it's not. because it's not malleable, because it was fixed. But I thought it was societal construct. And then there are men's roles and women's roles. But wait, I thought there wasn't, because the feminists said there were no men's roles and no women's roles. So it doesn't make sense. I I don't get it. This is my confused face. You know? Marty says, I disagree with you, Kurt, but thanks for your great explanation. No problem. I try to explain my stuff. I try to explain my thoughts. Like, I'm trying to explain my thought process. Not for Lisa reasons, because I want someone to correct me if I'm wrong. It's one of the rules Jordan Peterson says, never ignore the possibility that someone might be trying to tell you something. Never ignore the possibility that someone might be trying to say, oh, you're missing something here. And that they might be trying to tell you something valuable. And I'm like, okay. I'm trying to be as open-minded as this conservative knows how to be. I'm acting within the limits of as open-minded as I know how to be, and trying to have an open discussion and ask for commentary, and like nothing makes any sense. And like I'm confused. I'm just totally confused. What are we talking about, right? The subject is pedantic, maybe. It's a very confusing topic, almost like they keep changing terms. Yeah, that's why I say. If you actually genuinely want to answer the person you're talking to on stream and have them the ability to draw pictures, maybe. You finally put your keyboard back together? I'm happy for you. Congratulations. And Ken Jennings is feeling frustrated, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate his yeoman's work over here, even though we're having a difficult time. Uncivil law, what makes someone straight or gay? I mean, well, at least the definition of straight or gay is pretty easy. I mean, that's a cogent definition. You're straight if you're attracted to someone of the same sex. Apologize, that's the wrong way around. You're straight if you're attracted to someone of the opposite sex. You're gay if you're attracted to someone of the same sex. It's a cogent definition. Now, why that's true, we could have an argument about why it's true. But we're not trying to even argue about why transgender or trans. At this particular point, we're trying to argue about what the definition of it is. We're not even trying to figure out what the reason for it is. So we're not trying to figure out what the reason someone is trans is. We're trying to figure out what the hell it is. We're trying to figure out the definition. And if you ask me the definition of a straight person, a definition of a gay person, that's easy. The definition of a straight person is they're attracted to someone of the opposite sex. The definition of a gay person is they're attracted to someone of the same sex. Easy. Cogent. Objective. Why that's true, we could have a different discussion, but at least we have a cogent definition. Easy. No problem. That's easy. Ken Jennings says, that's what I've been thinking too in regard to this. Not trying to analyze Kurt in the process, but I think that is inhibiting the discussion quite a bit. I like Kurt. It's just tough. Yeah, fair enough. Maybe it is a really tough topic, and maybe it's one of those topics that is not really good for text. So maybe what we should do, Ken, if you're interested, maybe what we should do is we should do a voice chat. Probably not right now, because I'm tired. And I don't know that now it's 2:40 in the morning. And maybe now is not the best time. And we could even potentially do it on stream. And maybe it's one of those things that a voice chat would be easier at, because we're talking past each other. And I don't have to tell you that a lot of meaning is conveyed in tone and, other things other than the literal words. So maybe that will be a facilities thing. And maybe we are talking past each other. Maybe that's a little bit because of the limitations of our medium that we're working with. So maybe we could have a conversation. Probably not now, because I don't know that would necessarily end well. But maybe another time. So if you're interested, we could continue this conversation, because I'd like to at least understand a cogent definition from the left. And then if I understand the definition, then I could potentially agree with it or disagree with it, like once I understand it, right? I'm like, here's some problems with your definition that doesn't work. So far, I guess I've been disagreeing with your definitions because they don't work for me. So maybe I'm disagreeing with the definitions, including maybe from the DSM. It's like, yeah, that definition doesn't work for me either. So yeah, the DSM definition doesn't work for me. But I like to at least understand stuff before I disagree with it, you know? I like to at least understand what I'm talking about. I mean, I understand legal decisions. I disagree with legal decisions, and I still understand them. Wickard. You know, I understand it. I think it's garbage. You know? Hey, the APA isn't the only one capable of writing crap, right? The American Psychological Association isn't the only one capable of writing crap. The U.S. Supreme Court has written crap. I've criticized U.S. Supreme Court crap. I've criticized unanimous Supreme Court crap. It's like, I understand it. I fully understand it. I 100% completely comprehend it in every possible respect, and I still think it's crap. I understand it. I get it. Still crap. So yeah, man, it's not just the APA who's capable of coming up with crap. I'm like, yep, the Supreme Court can come up with crap too. It's like, I understand it, fully comprehend it, total garbage. Doesn't make any sense. Hey, I disagreed with the Supreme Court's definitions too. The Supreme Court came out with a definition. I'm like, yeah, this definition's crap. Doesn't make any sense. Man, yeah. So yeah. $5 super chat. Will you please leave the stream up so I can watch it in its entirety? Sure, no problem. You got it. Law is a social construct. Yeah, law is a social construct. And in fact, we can change it at any time. Yeah, law is a social construct. I agree. And then it's not a problem. You're right. Law is a social construct. And it does change from place to place. Right. Law is a social construct. It does change from place to place. Very much so. It does change from place to place. What is legal in one place is not legal in another place. Yeah, law is very much a social construct. It very much changes from place to place. It very much is, and very much what is legal one moment could theoretically be illegal the next, and vice versa, because society could change its mind. Yes, law is a social construct. Yes, no problem. I'm there. Yeah, it changes from place to place, changes from country to country. What's legal one moment could be illegal the next, vice versa. Yeah, it's a social construct. Great. Yeah, no problem. I'm there. Yeah. You know, maybe the only exceptions to that would be what we call malum in se, the fundamentally bad stuff, like murdering people, you know, and like robbing people. So maybe there's some fundamentally bad stuff that is not societally constructed because it just comes from basic elements of like reciprocity, of like, I don't do this to you, so you don't do it to me. So maybe there's some stuff malum in se that's like not societally constructed, although even then we have societally constructed definitions. So even murder doesn't have the same definition from place to place. Even from state to state, it doesn't have the same definition. It's possible for something to be murder one place and not another, and vice versa. So even something like murder doesn't have the same definition, and we've been doing this for 1,000 years or longer than that. Depends where you want to start from. Usually you start from English common law, which started in, what was that, the 12th century? Sometime in the 1100s? I forget. What is time immemorial? Hold on. There's an exact year for this. 1275. No. It was defined in 1275. 1189. Yeah. 1189. Yeah. So time immemorial actually has a legal definition. If you ever wanted to know, it's actually a legal term, time immemorial. When is time immemorial? Before 1189. If you want to be precise, it's July the 6th of 1189, starting with the Richard the First. So that's how far back we're willing to go. July the 6th of 1189. Before that, it's time immemorial. We're not willing to trace back any farther. That's as far back as we go. Anyways, that's funny. It's funny to me. I do need a drink, actually. Hold on. I'll be right back. Someone mentioned alcohol. Let's open this new one. Let's open a new one. Got a new bottle here. I'll show the chat here. Come on. It's not bad. Internet commentator said, hey, if you need to calm down, take a break, feel free. Well, I've gotten onto my whiskey now, so I'm a happy guy. Brian said, based on Kurt's response, I need to provide more specific examples to be useful, because my impression is, on very narrow points and responses, I'll need to watch the re-recording to be clear enough. Fair enough. That'd be great. Oh, Barney said, key point about sentience. You know that you're sentient and you're thinking. Now prove to anyone else that you are not automaton that's just producing a sound saying, I think. Oh, that's not possible. You can't prove to anyone else that you can think. In fact, there's a philosophy, solipsism. Solipsism, well, I don't know if it's really a philosophy, but it's an idea. Solipsism is the idea that you are the only sentient thing that exists, because you can't really prove that anything else other than you is truly sentient. So, like, everything else could be a simulation, or everything else could be a dream in your mind, or, pick your own analogy in this metaphor. So, yeah, you can't fundamentally prove that you are sentient to anyone else. Solipsism. The only thing that exists is really me. Everyone else is but a figment in my mind. I don't know what that says about this YouTube streaming. I'm streaming to the figment in my mind. That's I don't know what that is. That's if you do a YouTube stream, that's a good one for the psychologist. If you're doing a YouTube stream to the voices in your head, that's like a whole new level of something. I don't even know what that is at that point. Yeah. There's a thought. I have 18,000 subscribers on my channel, all of which are me. The multiple personality disorder is real. Whew. Yeah. Boomhauer says this figment of your mind says to stream more games. Fair enough, yeah. It's the same level of logic as last Thursday, Amsim. It might be, yeah. Hey, by the way, anyone who's shilling for me, new chat rule. We do not look down or criticize people who are shilling for uncivil law because those people might actually be me, and we don't allow criticisms of other people in the chat who might actually be me. I don't allow people in chat to criticize other people in chat, so I don't allow myself to criticize myself. Again, the logic grows deep. Is accusing someone of shilling a personal attack? Not if they're shilling for me, it's not. Everyone can shill for me. Shilling for me is a point of pride. We don't look. Shilling for me isn't an attack. It's a compliment. It's a point of pride. Shilling for other people, maybe. We'll talk. Can I please become the czar of reality and logic? I do what I can. Storm says, almost worried about you? I'm fine. Pretty much every geneticist on the planet disagrees with you. That's funny. 20 years ago, America didn't let the gays marry. Now everyone accepts it. That's with an A. But 20 years from now, Kurt and everyone else will get more used to the transition. Maybe. Would you rather kill Wickard or Chevron? Ooh, that's tough. Would I rather kill Wickard or Chevron? That's tough. The thing that I'm thinking about is like what would actually matter more. So if you killed Wickard, the thing is that Wickard is sitting on like the far edge, and like everything. So like the Supreme Court and every court basically keeps saying if Wickard is true, all this other stuff has to be true. But it's not clear if you got rid of Wickard, like how much further you'd go. So like, if you could imagine like a spectrum, Wickard's like as far out on the edge as you can go, pretty much, because it's hard to imagine going much further than that. So if you killed Wickard, it's not clear like where else you would land necessarily. So there are some people who think that overturning Wickard would be a really big deal, and in some sense, it kind of would be a big deal, but I don't think it's as big a deal as some people think, because a lot of things are built on Wickard, but everything that's built on Wickard kind of says Wickard is batshit crazy. And because if batshit crazy is okay, this less batshit crazy thing must also be okay because it's less batshit crazy, right? So it doesn't necessarily hold that if we got rid of the batshit crazy thing, the less batshit crazy thing wouldn't also be okay for other reasons, right? So everyone's like, well, the batshit crazy thing is legal, so the less batshit crazy thing must be legal. If you got rid of the really batshit crazy thing, the less batshit crazy thing may or may not be legal, but it wouldn't have that same logical pinning. You'd have to come up with new logical pinnings. So like if you got rid of Wickard, like how much further down the pipe would you go? It's not immediately obvious. However, Chevron has more immediate practical consequences. So for impact, I'm going to have to say Chevron. I'd rather get rid of Chevron. Yeah. That would help to get rid of the administrative state. Getting rid of Wickard would help deal with congressional overreach, which is bad. But even worse than congressional overreach is administrative state overreach. So between the two, it's a tough call. But I think I'm going to have to go with Chevron. $5 from Erica. For legally blonde lawyering with a snap. Bend and snap is the new head bang. Okay, I'll look that up. I don't. Is that like you want me to like? Could do the. I don't really do a snap. Yeah, it's a not really. I don't really have a lot of practice in my Z formation for the snap because you gotta do the Z formation snap. It needs work, but I'm out of practice. Um, $5 Canadian from Lots Bullets. I think I could reconcile both frames using Tomboy as our reference case, but not in text. If you're open to it, maybe using a Tomboy. Rick became a new member. You just becoming a new member now, Rick? I feel disappointed. I feel like you didn't really love the bathroom eyes before, man, or bedroom eyes, man. It's just Boomer Howard $2. I send you this money. Is it money laundering? No, because I'm not giving it back. £2 from Keck7Go. Tour of your kitchen when? Take us on the adventure. Probably not. Incidentally, I just ordered a green screen. It should be here on Tuesday, so we might get some green screen in, and maybe we'll do some backgrounds. So we could do different backgrounds. One day we could be on a ranch. One day we could be in downtown Austin. We could do the faux bookcase thing. We could do the erudite set. Could be fun. Have you ever done a chord analysis on stream while drunk? I got pretty drunk on some of Nick's streams, I think. Internet commentators, I'm a good boy doing work for UL. Yes, you are, internet commentator. Thank you for yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I did get drunk during one of the streams, and I had to stop because I got too drunk and I was slurring too many words. Not one of my greater moments. I just got my bottle of Tesla Tequila. It's funny. Pour one out to your fallen homies. I'll drink one for it. Do I subscribe to the drop in a water of whiskey? If it's cask whiskey, for sure. Not for whiskey, and I don't necessarily object. This one's 90 proof, so it's not too bad. But if you have a cask whiskey, you do want to put a little water in, a little bit more in the drop. Usually, what I do in that situation is 1 cube of ice, because that way, when it melts, it changes the flavor profile. So I usually like the 1 cube of ice approach. So if you have like a cask whiskey, especially, you want to put water in it because it helps to break out the nose and helps to aerolicize it so that it becomes more potent. But I like to put in a cube of ice, so you get the immediate water from the ice, and then as it melts, it changes the flavor profile over the drink, and it's actually really really nice. So I like the 1 cube of ice approach. It's 2:18 where you are, so you're 12 hours ahead of me or 12 hours behind me. Where's 12 hours ahead of where I am in the world? I don't even know where that is. Somewhere in Australia, maybe? I don't know. The stream is blurred. Why am I still awake? I don't know. I shill for UL on Ace Attorney. Fantastic. That means I am UL. Excellent. Thoughts on Immanuel Kant? Oh, I really like Immanuel Kant. I like the categorical imperative. I think it makes a lot of sense as a philosophy of morality. So the only moral philosophies are those that can be extended infinitely without contradiction. I like Immanuel Kant's philosophy very much. I definitely find myself, I don't know if I go quite as far as Kant, because Kant really takes it to the edge, but I really like Kant's ideas about the categorical imperative. So I really like Kant, Immanuel Kant. Good stuff. I did hear Twitter and the word simp. We have to come up with a new word. I guess we'll call shrimp now. He is way behind. He'll get there. Man, I'm doing what I can. Did I miss something from Erica? I'm trying to speed through. Watch yourself explains transgender issues to yourself during the Norman Speck TED Talk. Maybe. Philosophy is amazing, yeah. You know, I really, really like Michael Sandel's class called Justice, Theories of Justice from Harvard. I've mentioned it a couple times. It's like he did the whole semester, so it's like 8 hours of video, but it's really, really good. I really recommend it. Um, we could just stream it on. We could just stream it on stream. That would be fun to do. Just restream it and listen, because it's like it's really, really good. Thank you for all the people subscribing, by the way. I really appreciate it. And this tool is still working, Barney, so thank you. That's really, really helpful. You're awesome, Barney. You are the best, Barney. Barney's awesome. Barney provided me a solution to my YouTube chat needs, unlike some other people who were unable to provide me solutions. Barney provided me solutions. Yeah. He wrote me custom stuff. It worked. You need more lighting for a green screen? I have a light. I have lighting. It's just at night and when it's this dark, I have lighting. Sometimes I use it. I have lighting. I have one of the key lights. I don't have it on right now. If I can get people to donate $5,000 collectively, will you stream Ace Attorney again? I'd rather have the 5,000 subs, man, to be quite honest, than the $5,000. I did donate $25 to do his favorite Supreme Court case or extra game day stream. I mean, I've done that too, and I'm continuing to do that. And thank you very much, Boomhauer, for that. I appreciate that. Do I support Medicare for all? No. I support a federalized public. I support a federalized exchange. I think is the way to solve the healthcare problem. The current situation has the exchanges on the state level. I think a federalized exchange makes more sense. Rye whiskey and ginger ale? Oh yeah, that's good too. The game annoyed me so much I did stop. Yeah. Did I see AOC went after Democrat leadership today? I did not, but that's funny. Sleep is for people who respect their mental health. Yeah, no joke. So for all of you, does that mean if we hate you, it's an instance of self-loathing? Something like that, yeah. India is 12 hours ahead. I thought India was on a half time zone, though. Are they not? So they wouldn't be 12 hours ahead. They'd be 12 and a half or 11 and a half. Isn't India on a half time zone? Or am I misremembering my geography? And isn't Afghanistan on like a quarter time zone because they have to be different? Why is the delay so huge here versus other streams? I'm reading as fast as I can, man. Thoughts and critique of Pure Reason? Fantastic. Fantastic critique of Pure Reason. It is a masterwork. Um, you know, it's an absolute masterwork by Kant. Yeah, I mean, what's not to like about Critique of Pure Reason? It's fantastic. There's no actual stream delay, but he's going through a backlog of chat. He reads all the chats and responds to them as he gets them, which slows it down a little. It can only read so fast, right? Yeah. Lightning will help with the redness. I have the lighting, I just don't have it on right now. The categorical imperative is intriguing, but seems to run into issues with Gödel's incompleteness theorem. Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, that's true. Rick says, yeah, it can be a little surprising for new people, but at least he responds to pretty much everyone. Pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, it's like, people talk to me, I talk to them. It's like I read them in order and it takes time. So it takes time. I go through them in order. It's like, what else do you want? What is the other way to do it? Yeah, it's like I go back and I read them through and it takes time and we read until I get tired. So hey, if I'm behind, we're behind. It's like, what are you talking to? I'm talking to chats from a half hour ago. What taxation plan do I favor? Well, I very much, I don't know that I fully support it because I'd have to play with it more, but I really did like the idea of a value-added tax as opposed to corporate taxes that are currently in place. So I think a VAT in place of the current corporate tax structure might make a lot more sense. So I need to play with it more, but I think it is an interesting concept. In terms of personal taxes, if it were up to me, I think I'd first of all, I'd change the distribution on the progressive tax rate. So I'd do it in like 5% increments because I think the current bands are way too weird. So I think I'd do like a 5% rate and then go up to maybe like 40% or 45% or something, and do that in 5% increments instead of like the current increments we have now because they're way too weird. I think that the capital gains tax is probably about where it needs to be, because you want people to invest and grow the capital, so that's important. Personal income tax, yeah, it's not my area of expertise, but I think a value-added tax might make sense as opposed to the corporate taxes that are currently in place. The idea of the fair tax, where you do a flat tax but with a rebate. So you do a flat tax, but anyone who makes below poverty rate actually doesn't pay tax or something. Is interesting. But I'm not a tax expert. The progressive tax makes sense. I just think the current brackets don't make particular sense. India is indeed on a half time zone. See, that's what I thought. Newfoundland is on a half time zone. I did not know that. Nepal is 3/4. Bangladesh is 12 hours. There you go. Brandy and water is good. Ginger Cowgirl says, I actually really like the acknowledgement Uncivil gives to each of his commenters. Very genuine. Thank you, Ginger Cowgirl. Can you show me how to be a proper cowboy? I've got the hat. Would you like me to put on the hat? I'll put on the hat for the rest of the stream because Ginger Cowgirl has inspired me. I think it is cowboy hat time because of Ginger Cowgirl. Let's rodeo this thing up, babe. All right. Where's my hat? Well, howdy, Ginger Curl Girl. How you doing? You fancy a dance? I'm the best line dancer here. Oh, I think I'm down to the bottom of the chat finally. Value is subjective. Love the hat. Yay, Ginger. The hat is pretty great. Yes, hat time. I like the casual Friday vibe. Yeah, that's fine. Well, we're almost done here anyway because we've reached the end of the chat. 25,000 subscriber screen line dance, maybe. No, Justin Martin, that's okay. We're done with that chat for tonight. We're done with that chat. We have exhausted that chat. I'm not going to restart that right now. Maybe later. Kurt unironically reminds me of Norm Macdonald with a funny cadence. That's cool. Norm Macdonald's a fantastic guy. I do like his dry delivery, so that's very cool. Well, I think I'm going to sign off, partners. Partner, I hope you enjoyed this little rodeo. I think I might have tamed a few bulls, maybe won a few hearts. Try not to break them. I'm just a cowboy, simple cowboy. Can't help that they love my debonair ways. Yeehaw. If you liked this stream, if you'd be so kind as to give it a like. To all the people who have participated in a very difficult chat, I appreciate it. I'm not sure which progress we made, but I hope you enjoyed it. I tried my best to have a productive discussion. I hope you enjoyed it too. And I'm going to try to get some sleep now. So until later, my friends, hope all's well. Cheers and goodbye.